Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is the final segment, the market analysis with Sifiso Nsibande, who's the Treasury Sales Manager at Nedbank Eswatini. Joins us now for today's market analysis. Very good afternoon and welcome back, Sifiso. Thank you for coming through today. So, what's happening in the markets today? We are expecting the labor data to be released today. What's happening there?
Yeah, thanks, Lulu. Thanks for having me once again. Yes, so this is actually long-awaited data. If you may recall that the government in the U.S. has been having government shutdown because of, disagreements between the Democrats and the Republicans. So that information has been withheld for quite some time now. So you can imagine decision-making is difficult if you don't have data that will help you actually make the decisions in the U.S. So we're expecting that data to come out later on today. And basically, it will indicate the employment rate in the U.S., whether it has been improving or not, because they've been working on estimates for quite a while now. Quite also very important that we actually saw happening, which is actually affected even the markets, is we saw very weak retail sales in the month of December. So December numbers actually came out, very weak numbers there. Which signals that, consumer spending was actually muted. You may know that 70% of the U.S. economy is driven by consumer spending. So consumer spending in the U.S. is very key. So if there's less consumer spending, it means the economy is not growing. Yeah. And if the economy is not growing, then you can imagine what the repercussions will be. So December sales were very low, so people were not spending on big ticket items like vehicle sales and properties and the likes.
All right, so let's just go over through the numbers today, starting off with equities. Bonaguti, what's happening today?
Yeah, so with the Standard & Poor, mainly because of what I've just highlighted, that the numbers are being awaited. Secondly, is because investors are actually taking a tone of risk off. Risk off says we're not really looking into pumping money into risky assets at the moment because of the uncertainty that is surrounding the U.S. economy. The data I'm just talking about, and also the ongoing discussions that is actually happening between Iran and the U.S. The discussions actually started last week, Friday. Nothing really much to report at the moment, except that they are all taking different positions. Iran is saying, look, I will meet your demands only if you lift off the sanctions. And then on the FTSE, we also saw it come down a bit. A lot is actually happening in the European side. One of the things that we actually saw coming out recently is the dismissal of Peter Mandelson, who was the UK ambassador to the US, because of his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, who is a convicted sex offender. And this has actually led to the current Prime Minister, Stay Kama, to be actually under pressure. Some are actually calling for him to be fired. There are jitters in the market in terms of the FTSE. The JSE doing very well, mainly because 20% of the JSE is actually coming from precious metals. So if you have gold doing very well, if you have oil and the other precious metals doing well, you will see JSE actually doing well. And one of the things that we actually notice that there's actually inflows coming from foreign investors, which means they are pumping money into the JSE because where they are, there's currently a lot of uncertainty. So that's why we are seeing the JSE actually improving. And we think it's going to be like this. For as long as there's going to be uncertainty in the global environment, we will see the JSE actually doing well because of 20% concentration being precious metals.
Okay, so moving on to commodities, just getting a closer look at oil and Brent, gold and Brent or crude oil this afternoon. How is it performing?
Yeah, so gold basically benefiting from uncertainty. And the uncertainty, everybody then just goes for the safe haven. So if, like I mentioned, that investors are taking a tone of risk off. Risk off means we are not investing in risky assets at the moment because we are unsure about the future. So the safe haven is gold. And and if gold is benefiting, then you see also the JC benefiting. That's why we are seeing gold actually standing at about $5,100 per ounce, which is actually an increase to the 4,900 that we actually saw late last week. Brent crude also benefiting from supply concerns. There actually is a concern that because of the geopolitical tensions, there might be not sufficient supply of crude. So that actually put an upward pressure on the prices. That's why it's currently sitting at 74.36 per barrel.
Yeah. Okay. Just lastly, let's take a look at our currencies today. Looking at the lilangeni against the US dollar.
Yeah. So the rand is strong, very strong compared to the dollar. So the dollar is weak, but we will see what happens in the non-farm payroll numbers that are actually coming out. Many analysts are actually pointing that the rand could probably further strengthen to around 15.80, so which means there's still some room for the rand to actually continue to strengthen, because the expectation is you might not find or get really much positive numbers coming out of those data that we're actually expecting from the US. And then the British pound, it's just sort of flat. I mean, plus 0.03 is actually flat. I mean, not much of a difference because of the political jitters in the UK around Mandelson and Keir Starmer being under pressure in terms of them threatening him to fire for him to resign. The euro also came down slightly. There's actually a retreat amongst the European leaders currently happening right now, up until Thursday, where it is expected that France will take a different position from Germany and Italy in terms of how to grow the Eurozone economy. So that's the reason why it's taking a hit at the moment, and the rand is benefiting out of that.
Okay, so can we expect any more data to be released this week?
Yeah, so this week we are expecting the employment data coming out of the US.
Okay.
We are expecting information around the budget speech from South Africa, how the South African economy is going to be looking like going forward, because there's a lot of reforms that actually South Africa has been working on, but we want to know how are they actually filtering into the economy? Are they working? You remember electricity. Electricity has been an issue for quite a while in South Africa. But right now, people want to know, is there sustainability about the things that have actually been implemented? So we are actually expecting information to come out of that, and it sort of gives an indication of how strong the fundamentals are from the South African economy. Because what we are seeing in terms of the currencies is mainly because of dollar weakness, but we want to see a strong rand as a result of strong fundamentals from an economic perspective.
All right, thanks so much. Yeah, Sifiso Nsibande, Treasury Sales Manager at Nedbank Eswatini, just breaking down our market analysis for today's final segment. We quickly go for an ad break and come back and wrap up the program with Sifiso.